for McKenzie Gaines. Now Capetti. Enzo with a chip. They score! Enzo Capetti! Once again, the road warrior! And Charlotte FC to the lead in the 27th minute!
Enzo Capetti silences the crowd here in Orlando with his second goal of the season. Charlotte FC's second goal of the season. And who else but the Argentine superstar to come up clutch with the first goal in this game. He does the celebration to his newborn child. You love to see the strength of his run, perfectly timed, the intricacy of the one-touch finish on the hop. He makes it look so easy, but the ball from Jalen Lindsay is sublime. It's a fantastic ball from Jalen Lindsay. What a way to re-enter with his first start since August.
Charlotte Soccer Show, John Hayes, Danny Brams. Danny, it's Jalen Lindsay. It's Knuckles, a sublime ball. Our friends at WFNZ, Will and Jess on the call. It's a victory Sunday night in the QC. Danny Brams, here we are. And we've got good vibes on the Charlotte Soccer Show.
Yeah, baby. We're back. Charlotte, I want you to put the word out on the street that we back, you know. That's the meme that got sent to me on late Saturday night. Actually, in full disclosure, it was sent to me at halftime, and then we almost weren't back. So probably a good thing that I didn't post it anywhere until after the game, but it was sent to me. How about it, man? A 4-point Saturday. We got to go see the Independents with a hard-fought point in their home opener against a really quality opponent, and then we got to see Charlotte go on the road and become road warriors. It was a hell of a day. It was a hell of a night. We lived it up at the Elizabeth Parlor Room. You know, if you're not sick, if you're starting to get sick of us hearing us talk about how great EPR is, just show up, and then you'll agree, and then you won't be sick of it anymore for sure. So that was really great, and feeling great vibes today. I've been trying to go on bike rides on Sundays after the games. The last couple of weeks, it's been sort of like catharsis bike rides, like just trying to like pump out all the poisonous thoughts from my head. But this time it was pure enjoyment. Enjoyed a nice little day, a little cold, but it was a decent little short ride, and it's been a hell of a weekend, man. What can I say? I'm loving life. I'm drinking wine. I have a new bottle of wine for those who've been following along week to week. I did finish the previous bottle of wine that I was drinking for the last couple episodes, and now I got another Malbec, of course, because I love my Argentinian Malbecs. Shout out to Enzo Capetti. Shout out to the Rossing Club kit that I was wearing back in Charlotte gear tonight, but I threw out Rossing at the party. We had a grand old time. A lot of folks. There was actually some really big Rossing Club fans that were there, part of the Blue Fury group, who were, they were loving me. Everybody was loving Brams. It was a good old time. I was loving Charlotte FC, and what could be better?
It's not a 6-point Saturday, but a 4-point Saturday is the next best thing. It was a huge day of soccer in the city, Danny, and at long last, 3 points for Charlotte FC. It's that feeling of getting off the bottom of the table. Bottoms up, Danny Brams.
Are we still on the bottom on goal differential, I think? I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, we're not on the bottom. No, we're up.
Of course, Montreal. Well, yeah, not of the league. The West is troubled. There's a lot of bad records out in the West early on. We're hurting in the East. Montreal, of course, gets their first win the same night that we do. So that's unfortunate. But
where do we start? Who deserves the praise? A lot of times, especially Danny, around all the different podcasts, all the different social media, people that talk about Charlotte FC, the blame game was being passed around town.
Pointing fingers, point over, a little point over here, a little point over there. Sure. That's what we've been doing for a month,
including on this show. And when you start 0-3, you got to do that. Latanzio made changes, Danny, and returned Bram Bronico into his normal position. Mm-hmm. Inserted Jalen Lindsay into the lineup. Inserted Harrison Affel into the lineup as well. And sat Karol Swiderski, sat Kamil Józwiak, starts Vargas and Gaines on the wings.
Mm-hmm.
Westwood in the middle as well. And with Derek Jones, and all of a sudden you see a force to be reckoned with in Orlando. I've heard a lot of people say, Danny, that the stats looked one way, maybe the score looked a little different. you rewatched the match today. Let's hand out some awards. The golden boy of the match.
The golden boy of the match. I gotta give it to my boy Jalen Knuckles Lindsay, man. There's lots of candidates, and I think I listened to Latanzio's press conference after the game. I think he singled out Marks and Affle and Vargas. I think were the three that he said he was kind of being impressed. He was like, look, every player on the team did great tonight, but if you asked me to name three, I'd name Marks, Vargas, and Affle. But for me, it was Jalen Lindsay. The kid was just like the breath of fresh air that we needed. He's one of our own. He's one of our own. Jalen Lindsay, he's one of our own. When it came time to like rally and like get this team back together, like from a desperation point that we were sort of sinking towards, it's all about the hometown kids and the homegrowns. You put Jalen in and you bench Burn. You put Marks in and you bench Pablo. You know, is that controversial? I don't know, but it was certainly eyebrow raising. And Marks is not as experienced as Pablo Sisniega, but he came up clutch in some big spots. Definitely a part of the reason we won is because of him. But Jalen, in addition to just the assist, the pass from Jalen Lindsay is sublime, as we heard on WFNZ. He was intercepting balls in the rewatch that I watched. He's really good at just like getting in and like taking the possession backs on the wings, kind of like Shinyashiki is, to be honest. Like when he's out there, in terms of just like being a really good pressing player in a way that I haven't seen from Burn this year. And then Jalen's also making contributions on the offense. You know, like he got the assists. He had there was a spot in the first half when he intercepted a pass in midfield, carried it forward all the way, and like kicked it out to Gaines and almost created a chance for Gaines Jalen was in here and created a chance on the outside. So he can play all over the place. He was doing that bit. You know, we've seen that Latanzio likes to take the 4-2-3-1 and morph it into the 3-2-2-2 in attack and possession. And Jalen was comfortable in that. I just think he showed us so much more in one game than Burn has in three, that I think he's my man of the match, and he's got to stick in the starting lineup as far as I'm concerned.
A change at both fullback positions, and I think that's something to really take a magnifying glass and take a look into, because those fullback positions are massive in this squad. They're asked to do so much, and both of these guys got their opportunity on the road against Orlando. Do they run it back this weekend at home against Red Bulls with those same two players? It feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we've seen there's like definitely a Jekyll and Hyde aspect to what Latanzio does with this team and with his selections and things like that. And we know that he is crazy on one level, and he's a tinkerer and he's a mad scientist, like we've talked about. And he will make radical changes to an 11 sometimes that like blow your mind. But that's almost always, and that happened this week and it actually paid off, but that's almost always coming off a loss, right? He actually also, the Dr. Jekyll part of it is that he doesn't usually change a winning 11. He usually runs it back when the squad wins. He almost always like runs it back. Someone could double check me on the numbers of that, but that's the feel that I get in the Latanzio era for this club. So I think he'll probably run it back, and Swiderski on the bench is a big, bold move. I think right. Partly it can be sort of explained away with the fact that Carroll's doing international duty this upcoming week, so he wouldn't be available against Red Bulls anyway. So maybe it's like a favor to there was a little bit of beef, if you remember last year, between Charlotte and the Polish Football Association over Swiderski reporting whether he was hurt or not in a certain international window. And he didn't go to Poland, then he scored a goal for us, and they were kind of peeved. People over there were pissed. So maybe it's kind of like, hey, he's going to Poland in a couple of days. Let's just sit him out this game, keep him fresh, make sure we have a good relationship with the internet. I don't know. That's all speculative on my part, but that's one of the possible reasons. If the international duty was not coming up and Carroll had been benched, I think it would feel like a lot bigger deal, I guess. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that the fact that he's going out of town kind of allows the situation to kind of simmer. It doesn't necessarily have to boil over the next week or so. And then maybe when Carroll gets back into town after the international break, if he's not seeing minutes then. So what it does is it effectively kicks the can down the road a little bit. And it kind of helps with damage control inside the building for him not to be there at this point, and they can focus without him. And Christian Latanzio played his card, and that was what he was hoping for, and he got exactly what he wished for.
The other person who might not
which
start
was
again
a positive result.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Johnny. The only person who might not start again would be Westwood because he did take a knock. He had to be subbed at half. And if you, I didn't notice this when we were watching live at EPR because I was just bouncing around the room, talking to people and yelling, chanting, and things like that. But Westwood actually, once I did the rewatch, I saw where he got hurt, and it was definitely holding his muscle. It looked like it could be some type of muscle injury that might be a couple week thing. We'll see. He did play on, it was like the 44th minute when he got hurt, and there was 4 minutes stoppage time, and he went to the sideline after some treatment, and they were talking. And Nuno Santos went to the line even then in the first half, but then Westwood played on and saw out the half, and he actually got involved in a couple of little scraps and got knocked over one play. So I don't know if he would have re-aggravated or made his injury worse by staying on for a few minutes. I'm not sure, but they Laddie Daddy at the post game said, hey, he wants to see the scans before he makes any definitive comments. So hopefully we will find out more on Westwood's potential injury midweek here.
I thought one of the more interesting comments that we've got all day long was from one of the crazy fun soccer fans that shows up at EPR and has for the last couple of weeks is Byron Ryan. Believe it or not, going to give him a shout out on the show tonight.
Wow.
A great soccer fan. And the reason why is because he tweeted us after the match today. He said, hey, there's still cracks. There's still
don't
cracks.
Paint over the cracks.
Don't paint over the cracks. And I enjoyed that. And is that what this win does? Is this win just kind of a charade? Is it for the last week? The entire fan base has been saying this is a problem. We don't have a starting 11. 0 points in 3 matches. All of a sudden, you get 3. Was it that different of a performance? If you just take the results aside, and by results, I mean just the 3 points. If you just put the points aside and you say, okay, the team that we watched on Saturday night against Orlando, this is a step in the right direction because of potentially new players that are going to contribute on a week-to-week basis, right? Is that the right way to think about it?
Yeah. I think that he has a
changes.
Point. I think the point that Ryan makes and that some people are making is just that you can't be okay, we're off and running and we got it, we did it, we didn't really blow Orlando away. You can nitpick this victory big time if you wanted to. You can say Orlando's tired. They were playing their 5th match in 15 days. You can say they were missing one of their starting center backs who would have stopped some balls in the air. We didn't really do a ton in the air anyway, but that's one thing they could have had. You could have say that they're just, like I said, they're just worn down by not just physical fatigue, but the mental fatigue of having to play that all the travel and playing in the CONCACAF Champions League against a Mexican team and whatnot. So, and then you can look. I want to show one thing. I'm going to share the screen real quick here because there's one thing another nitpick you could make potentially is this right here. If we bring it full screen, maybe this is what they call the pressure graph on SofaScore. Yeah, where it's, if you're looking on YouTube, as thanks for following us, where it's green, that's Orlando getting attack, and the higher the little bar there, the more pressure their attack is, and if it's blue, it's Charlotte. So you can see in the first half, it's pretty even. We were getting a lot of threat and providing a lot of pressure, especially toward the end of the first half. We got our lead 2-0. In the second half, you rarely see this. Trust me, I look at a lot of these graphs. This is 35-40 minutes of just sustained Orlando City just having the ball constantly in their own half, in our half, in their attacking half, and getting chances and putting man under pressure and getting shots on goal and things like that. We were lucky to hold on. We allowed 2 goals in that were called for offsides, one in the 3rd minute of the match, and then one late in the match, and they were close. They were pretty close offsides. So we missed a couple of Mackenzie Gaines missed a big chance. Brant Bronico missed a really wide open shot that also did turn out to be offsides, but still that should have been buried, I think, by Brant. I think if that's Swiderski in that spot, he buries it personally. But yeah, man, like I said, there's cracks out there, but more importantly, I think we just, as a fan base, it was this huge release and relief, and all these people, I can't be mad at anyone celebrating. If you're painting over cracks today on Sunday, God, more power to you. I have no beef with that because there were a lot of cracks and a little paint never hurt anything. So celebrate and be excited about Charlotte FC finally getting off the schneid for sure. The cracks would look a lot worse if we were 0-4 this morning.
It will definitely help the vibe at the Fortress on Saturday, and
Mhm.
the coming off a 3-point win, and forget about, and you know what they've been doing at Bank of America Stadium for years now? They've been covering up cracks with paint over at that stadium for a while now, Danny.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
No
we're going to
doubt.
go there and Saturday night have a great time, and I think the vibe in that building is going to be fantastic coming off a win. I think Enzo Capetti is going to be in a prime position to score a goal in that match. Right, he's
Yeah.
starting to feel it right now.
The prince that was promised.
And
I know
he certainly
how
is
much
that.
he's loved. At Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium, they were, when we lost the match to Atlanta, the people that were stuck around in the supporter section doing like post game chants or whatever, they were just chanting Copetti, Copetti. Like when he scores a goal in a home match, it's going to be absolutely insane.
The fan base already loves him, and he seems like the type of guy that has a great nose for goal. You know, we lauded over his ability to just be in the box and score and make the right touch. And I think on his goal, what you saw was a great first touch with the thigh. It puts it right in front of him. Knows he can get the next touch on it. His second touch is in the back of the net, just controlled, cool finish. Right past who I think is one of the best keepers in the league, who knew he got beat quickly. You could tell
the octopus.
Gaise in net was just absolutely pissed about letting that goal in. Basically, especially because of the ball, the seeking ball over from Lindsay. Now, one thing I want to do before we go to a break and get into a second segment tonight is talk about the keeper, George Marks. Danny, I just wanted to hear you talk about this player getting a start in an MLS match. I believe it was his first start in an MLS match.
I think did he start I think he started against Philadelphia, right? Because Kalina got hurt in the warm up.
So second,
then we barely paid attention because Rio scored 4 goals, and we just no one even remembered that Mark started. I'll double check that. Just make sure I'm correct.
I unfortunately had to miss that match. I was out of town for that match. It's I look back at last year and
when we were in the vault. That's when we were in the vault, baby. It was great. Yeah.
Gotcha. So if Mark started that game, I missed it. It was an easy W. Either way, it is his first or his second start.
No, I'm sorry. That was Pablo. That was Pablo against Marks. Did something? Marks played something. He played like the Columbus redo match. I think like he had to start right because Pablo wasn't on the bench in the original one. There was one spot where Marks did like quote unquote start last year, but it was not Philadelphia.
Either way, it was a bold decision. When the lineup came out, that's what you circled. You were talking about that. We saw Bridget before the match. We saw her.
The world's biggest George Marks fan.
Independence match. Yeah. So I heard y'all talking about that. I heard how I think a lot of people were surprised to see that, and based on the 90 minutes. George Marks looked really, really good.
Yeah, he looked really good, man. He looked really good. A 7.6 SOFA score rating, and that's even with a yellow card against him for time wasting. So I think, although I don't know if that increases your score because it's actually a good strategic move or not. But yeah, I'm trying to look how many saves he was credited with. 6 saves. A couple of them were diving saves. One, he went low to his left to make a big save. He even made a save on the play where we conceded, like where we gave up the goal. He actually made a good play on that, coming up and like stopping the initial effort after Tuiloma got beat really bad again, unfortunately. And but then there was just too many. Like they just did a little square pass over to a wide open Ojeda on the other side of the box. But yeah, Marks covered himself in a lot of glory, man, and he was. I think the one thing I don't necessarily have not seen this, but the one thing I definitely know that people have critiqued Pablo Sisniega for is he doesn't communicate as well with his back line. Like he's too stoic almost and just like kind of like expects people to be where he wants them to be, maybe almost reading his mind. And I saw a lot more animated, like pointing guys out in places and stuff like that from Marks than I have seen from Pablo. Maybe it's because I was watching for it. I'm going to confess I'm not like a goalkeeping expert, so I don't want to step out of line with too much critique about stuff that I'm not an expert on, but it definitely does feel like Marks has captured the heart of the fan base. I do think people are having a little bit of like short memories. Like it was only a couple weeks ago that everyone was praising Pablo and saying, it's not his fault.
Well,
the own goals and the bad passes. Pablo's not the reason we're losing. But then as soon as Marks comes in and we win, it's like, I never liked Pablo. I was always on Marks. I always wanted Marks. It's just a little bit of that. So
they're both pretty equal talent when it comes to keepers. They're both backup keepers to Kalina. They're both players who have been fighting for this role, who have been able to be on the squad for more than a year now. And then the reason why is because they're both talented guys. So I'm not surprised that the drop off isn't a lot from Sisniega to Marks. And we watched Marks in person at in the U.S. Open Cup last season against Greenville. He got the start in that game, and he looked good there too. I don't think this ultimately. My point is it's not anything different that we're seeing from Marks. Anytime he's gotten minutes, he's been a solid rock at the back. His shot stopping ability, his reflexes, some strong hands as well in the back. I think that this is a really interesting now problem, right? The flexibility, the depth that we've talked about, that you maybe last episode said could be a potential actual weakness. All of a sudden we have a depth conversation at keeper. And even if you put Christian Kalina, you throw him into the mix there, I think you're talking about three guys who you got to ride the hot keeper. So the question becomes, does George Marks get into the net on Saturday at the keep?
I think so. I think I would expect him to. I think other than Westwood, I do think Latenzio will probably ride a extremely similar 11, if not the exact same, other than Westwood, like I said. But there's just no reason to change. If you lost 3 with one guy and then won 1 with the other guy, why do you go? You would never go back to the first guy in the next game. That doesn't make any sense, right? Just like take the actual people we're talking about out of it and just make it sort of a anonymous conversation. And just on the face of it, it doesn't seem logical to go back. So yeah, I like Pablo. I like everything Pablo brings, but for whatever reason, he just can't hold down. When he's gotten starting chances both in LA and here, he doesn't really nail him down to the point where he's unquestionable. He's not undroppable. He's not undroppable like Bronny, bro, for damn sure.
It's another sign. The lineup comes out and Bronny Bro is still in there because Christian Latenzio knows what he can get out of him. You're not going to get the most technical skilled player, right? What you're going to do is you're going to get a player that can totally just run all match long, and his fitness level is completely top notch. Somebody else in the squad who's struggling a little bit is somebody new to the squad. It's Bill Tuiloma on the back line. Yet another mistake leading to an Orlando goal. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Guzman Carujo, when we can expect him back, because I think ultimately at this point, Big Bill has played himself out of the lineup as soon as Guzman Carujo is ready to go. I think Addison Milanda is the person that you're going to see paired up with Guzman at the center back. We know that Guzman has been on the pitch a little bit in training. We're going to have to ask about an update this week on the status of the center back, because I think that's really the next piece of the puzzle, Danny, that starts to come together. And all of a sudden you're beginning to find that that back line and also a keeper situation that you feel good about, which has been, in my opinion, the total weakness of the squad. The defense has been poor. And what happens when you only give up 1 goal? You win the game. And you love to see that for Charlotte FC. So we're going to do that. Remember, you can tweet us at For the Crown Baby. You can follow us here on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks. If you're not, if you're listening to the show, do us a favor, subscribe on YouTube. You can see us do the show there as well. And give us a rating, give us a review. Always appreciate y'all doing that. Thanks for coming out to EPR on Saturday night. Another successful watch party. Some of the Blue Furia was there. The Mecklenburg Reserves are there. Post-match, if you didn't hear our interview with manager Mike Jeffries of the Charlotte Independence and goalkeeper Austin Pack, make sure you check that out. It's episode 72. You can hear those interviews from last week. They were post-game at EPR as well. Shout out to them for being there.
I think we have a new phenomenon also. It's called the Charlotte Soccer Show Bump. Come on the show, Austin Pack. You get a clean sheet against the highest scoring attack in the league 3 years running. I think that's pretty cool. Charlotte Independence really, they didn't score, and they probably had the most chances in that match. They probably had the better of the chances against Richmond. And I was really happy to see them out there with a really strong spine. I know you love a good strong spine, and they pretty much kept any and all attacking away. Austin Pack had to make one really nice save that he was able to make, and Richmond looked kind of futile out there. Shout out to the Independents for doing some organization work.
I saw Austin at EPR after the match, and he said, "Yeah, sorry, it was a little boring out there." I said, "Hey, man, it's a clean sheet.
Right.
It's a clean sheet.
Yeah.
It's all good. You got the
clean
you got
sheet
the
is
clean
never
sheet,
boring. Yeah.
and for a keeper, that's always a good thing. Celebrate that." So for now, we'll be back in just a second. What do you have? One more thing?
I just want to say we were able to meet also Coach Jeffrey's lovely wife, Terry. Just, wonderfully, the real Miss Terry, for all you college football fans out there. And she was delightful, and she was mad that her husband did not mention her award-winning cookies during the interview that we went at with Coach Jeffries when he had the chance. So I just wanted to shout out those cookies on the show for sure. And hopefully we'll get a chance to enjoy some of her baked goods after an Independence win sometime in the upcoming season.
Based on how they played on Saturday against what we know is a good side, I think with some late substitutions, with not maybe Coach Jeffries his ideal starting 11 to start the season, I think it's going to look a little bit different in a couple weeks. Knowing all of those things, 1 point in the first match at home is not the worst thing in the world. Remember, after that match, what did I say? Charlotte FC has played 3 games; they still don't have a point. So you get one in your first game. That's not a bad thing. So it's the Charlotte Soccer Show. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. Charlotte Soccer Show, John Hayes, Danny Brams. It's now Sunday evening as we're recording this. Thanks to those of you who are listening on your podcast feeds Monday morning on the way into work, maybe Monday as you're hanging out on an off day, or maybe Monday evening when you're having a glass of red wine, which is, I saw you and I needed to make sure I got myself.
Yeah, man. The eccentric Malbec 2021 is pretty nice. It's very spicy, very good.
Oh, spicy. Any spicy takes on Bill Tuiloma and his
desperation signing? Desperation signing. We should have just trusted Jones to play center back until Carujo was available. Is that spicy enough for you? Is that spicy enough? Yeah.
It's.
I do love the nickname Big Bill. We love Big Bill, but.
Is Christian Fuchs able to come off the bench and maybe give some center back minutes to this team? Where's Sobocop? Where's Sobocinski? Is he injured right now?
I think he picked up a knock right at some point. If I'm checking, I don't believe he wasn't even on the bench on Saturday. So,
what's the latest with Sobocinski? It's like, do we have a center back issue on this club? When is Carujo available?
So you tell me. Carujo had his surgery August 12th. 2022. So ACL surgery, reconstruction. What is that? The general take on that is 9 months to 12 months, depending on, for an athlete to get back to their sport. So in theory, I mean, he could still be out until June or July, but more likely, just knowing the kind of athlete he is and knowing the kind of rehab beast that I presume him to be, I would hope that he would be available by the end of April or in May. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor. That's what I'm asking.
Me either.
I need to figure it.
I know.
I need to ask this question because the last time we talked to Christian Latanzio, not we, but the media did talk to Christian Latanzio. I want to say about 3 weeks ago, and he said there was no timetable, but he was ahead of the schedule. But even though there wasn't a timetable, he was ahead of the schedule.
There's no timetable. There's a schedule, and he's ahead of it. Yeah, exactly. Should we call up synonyms.com and see if timetable and schedule are on the same page? I bet they are.
I'm underscoring this because you made a great point. Like, even though he is out on the pitch and moving around well in practice and in training, it doesn't mean he's anywhere near match fit. Adam Armour has been, walking fine, looking fine for a while, and he finally got back into training and was not available.
He was not on the bench either, but he was not on the injury report at least. Yeah,
but he was not on the injury report. So
that's a step. That's a step in the journey for sure.
That is a step in the journey. But when I look at the bench, Danny, there's nobody there that can fill in at center back. There's not one person on the bench.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Joey Mora, I guess in a pinch, or Byrne in a pinch could have done it, but you're not wrong. Yeah, that is a bit of an issue.
An issue at the back, and I think right now you got to ride Belanda and you've got to ride Tuiloma as far as they'll take you. But I'm going to promise you at some point it's not going to work.
Is that one of those cracks that might be getting painted over? I don't know.
It's not. It's not. It's fine.
Crack open a cold one. Let's go. Are you double fisting on a Sunday night? Let's go. I was double fisting. Okay, sparkling water. Go water and wine. I love it. What
Yeah.
Why not both? I was double fisting a little bit at EPR. I was double fisting at EPR a couple times for sure. And let me just say, shout out to Matt Morena, the bearded bartender, who promised us the award-winning gin cocktail. Said he needed to get the cold cream in, and the cold cream came in, and he was mixing up drinks. I was loving it. It was I could see why it was winning awards. He had some nice cocktail work.
I knew where you were going with that shout out, by the way, and it was a totally unexpected cocktail. It was a winning cocktail. Might have to be a tradition. Shout out, so you get a W at EPR, right, and you get the gin cocktail. And people. It was it was a showstopper, right? The entire those drinks came out from back behind the bar, and the entire place was like, "Whoa, what is that? What is that?"
Mm-hmm.
And it lived up to the billing. It was fantastic. It didn't taste how I expected it to taste at all, which was maybe part of the reason why I really enjoyed it, because it was unexpectedly tart. It was not very gin forward. The cream was great. It was a delicious treat. It felt like something that you would have for dessert. And after a win, it was great.
Yeah, that little couch corner section of EPR is almost like sets itself aside as like like this is the VIP. Like, oh yeah, we're the VIP now on these couches, and that was just a great place to like sit in the quote unquote VIP, drinking some special winning cocktails. It felt amazing. It was such a great night, and everybody contributed to it, man. Gaines, everyone's hyping up the goal scored by Copetti and the pass from Jalen that got him there. I'm not sure if Jalen saw Copetti. I think he was passing it to Gaines. When you watch that replay, Gaines is like running alongside Copetti. They're both there as an option. And so I almost feel like Gaines's run is what brought the pass from Lindsay, and then Copetti ended up being the one in the better position to finish it, which is great. But just
and by the way,
was a hero out there.
Kerwin Vargas scored the game winner, and his ability to go one-on-one with a defender and maybe get a bit of a lucky deflection, either way, got himself into a position to get a shot on goal, and it sneaks in the near side. Another one that Gaese was definitely not happy about, letting that goal in the back of the net. Frustrating loss for Orlando this game.
Yeah, he got caught wrong-footed by the deflection, but hey, you make your own luck in this game. I do think they all count, as Jess Charman called on WFNZ. The thing that struck out to me, sort of a thread that carried on through the night, is we went to the Independence match, right? And what did we see? We saw Gabriel Oberton. We saw Tresor Mbuyu. We saw Dane Kelly when he came in. What do they all have in common? When they get the ball near the box, they shoot. And you can't score if you don't shoot. And like the Independents really impressed me with the way that just like you get a chance, you shoot it, you put the ball towards the goal. Something might happen on a rebound. You might beat the keeper. You don't know. But it was like shoot. And Charlotte FC, that's something we've really lacked this year. There's a lot of like reluctance to fire the shot and always trying to like make that perfect pass it into the net, as the old Arsenal criticism from back in the Wenger days is that they were trying to do that too much. And our team's been trying to do that too much. Like Vargas is the breath of fresh air, because much like those guys on the Independents, he just shoots, man. He gets the ball and he's looking to make something happen toward the goal. He's not like thinking like, oh, how can I like fancy dribble myself into space and then make some sick pass that no one's ever seen? He's like, no, I have the ball. How do I get this ball headed towards the goalkeeper at speed?
I personally, I think that Vargas could land on an undroppable list soon.
Wow.
I think he might be able to land on an undroppable list soon.
He keeps scoring, yeah. Although we thought when Shinyashiki scored a bunch of goals, we called him undroppable, and then he was promptly dropped.
But they played it. There's an opening at left wing.
Sure.
There's an opening there, and there's an opening on the right side too. And I would say that of Yuzviak, Vargas, Shinyashiki, and Gaines, we talked about goals mattering, right? We talked about, hey, you got to score goals. This is what we mean by that. Like it's sometimes you simplify it down to that one simple statistic and it stands out above everything else, but it's just so true when you play attacking football, when that's your position. Like you either have to provide assists or score goals or you don't play. Like that's just how those positions work. And with Vargas clearly scoring this goal and a game-winning goal, he's in the lineup for me on Saturday night. Even if Christian Lattanzio runs this full thing back man for man, that would be fine. But I do think there's some options. I do think Shinya Shiki is an option on the right wing next to Copetti there if he wants to replace Gaines and play Shinya there on the wing. And again, we'll figure out what happens. And you take 4-4-2 off the table. Danny, we can get into all that later in the week. We'll have a preview episode. We'll have a preview episode this week of Saturday night's match against New York Red Bull, who, by the way, Red Bull, remember, I still have that bitter taste in my mouth from last season. Red Bull knocking us out of that U.S. Open Cup.
Oh, I hate them. We hates the nasty Red Bulls for sure, man. What can I say? I want to beat them bad. But I'm reveling in this win, you know, like I'm just thinking again, I'm just thinking about like some of the plays I watched Jalen Lindsey make, and he ran out of steam at the end. That's one thing is like, so Lattanzio did some pretty nice substitutions at the end to like see this thing out. If you remember that pressure graph we showed earlier, we were under the cosh, as they say in England. Like it was like heavy pressure, and like even though Ben Bender's not my ideal choice to come in late and like see out a 1-goal victory because he loses the ball so much, he has a lot of energy and fresh legs, and it was nice to see him come back.
Let's go through the substitutions. Can you bring that up on the screen? Can you bring that up on the screen?
Sure,
the substitutions.
How's about it?
Because you can see it here. Like it's pretty clear that there was a lot of action in the second half, right? You start with Westwood, clearly that decision you talked about, a potential knock there. We need to get on an update on his status as well, Westwood. But if he's unavailable, that's a clear sign that, you know, Nuno Santos will start on Saturday against Red Bull, I think, if Westwood isn't available.
Agreed.
And then, you know, would have Jalen Lindsey went the full 90 without that yellow card? That's a question. Nathan Byrne comes in the 67th minute. I think if Lindsey doesn't pick up that yellow card, I think he goes the full 90.
Yeah, and he also did the attack that led to their goal did come down his side, although it wasn't necessarily his fault. It's obviously Tuiloma way more culpable in that situation, but he might have just been a little bit tired. This is his first match of the year. Probably some fresh legs didn't hurt. And Byrne, again, I don't think Byrne's some great defender. I think Lindsey's a better defender than Byrne, but Byrne for 25 minutes is a lot better than Byrne for 75 minutes. Let's just put it that way.
Well, what's interesting to me, and I was thinking about Nathan Burns today and thinking about how, you know, he's a guy that is experienced. He's somebody that has played in the English Championship for Derby County. He's been in the game for a while. He's 30 years old. And he's played for, came up in the Tottenham Academy. Somebody who went on loan to places like Brentford, Bournemouth, both those clubs in the Premier League right now. Spent some time at Wolverhampton Wanderers as well. And
it's been everywhere.
He's making his first trip outside of England, right? He's born and raised an Englishman and has played in English football his entire career. Now he's come over to the States, and has to face the harsh reality at 30 years old that there's a 22-year-old American that is taking his spot.
Yeah.
And that's
rough.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough. You got to make sure that you fight on. And I think if you're Jalen Lindsey, you can look at that yellow card and you can say, hey, if I'm more disciplined, I'll play more minutes, and I'm prepared to do it. I'm in good shape. So ultimately, I think that changed Byrne for Lindsey. That's not something I'd hope to see in the future, but it's not a bad one considering the yellow happened. Kamil Jóźwiak comes in for, again, it's insane how they abbreviate Mackenzie Gaines to OMG2 G2 on SofaScore.
Or in
Kamil
Mackenzie
Jóźwiak
Gaines
comes in
dosed, yeah.
For Jóźwiak. What was your take on that substitution?
I think it was just a matter of there's not many out there. I would have preferred it to be Carroll, I guess, but it seemed like they were committed to not playing Carroll. There just wasn't that many options. If you look over here on the bottom right of the screen, you can see like it was either Jóźwiak or Shinya Shiki. I would have made it Shinya Shiki. Let's just put it that way, because I think he's, as much as Jóźwiak is a bulldog and has that sort of relentless effort, I think Shinya Shiki's a better defender when it comes down to it, just in terms of more talent and like winning the ball back and taking it back away. So, but either way, fresh legs were needed at that point, and McKenzie played good. Had a big chance early on that he missed. Had a lot of good spots where he was running into space, and just didn't really have a ton of impact on the game, but he wasn't bad, but I think he was the right sub at the time.
How about that? Joseph Mora comes in late for Harrison Offal, who played an incredible match. I think that's a great substitution. Makes a lot of sense. And then Ben Bender, Danny Brams, out of the
Back
witness
from the
protection
dead.
program.
Yeah,
there he is. He comes in for a cameo late in the match to help see things out.
Had to happen. Give Vargas his curtain call, right, for the game-winning goal. Yeah, man. It was nice to see Bender. I went back today and I was like, when was the last time we saw Ben Bender? And I remembered, it was the video of him from preseason where he was picking fruit at the orchard in California when they were out there in LA, and he was picking oranges and lemons and things like that. And I watched the video again today, and he bit a lemon, like he ate a lemon like an apple, just like he was like, that's not that sour. Oh wait, it is really sour. Yeah. So just like I'm like I have a whole new take on Ben Bender, which is just like he's just like this lovable kid that just is like goofing his way through life and like figuring it all out as he goes. So I think he wants to play, obviously, but I don't think he's like heartbroken to not play, because I think he's just like loving the experience of like being on a professional soccer team and just going through life. It's kind of funny. So I like Bender more after rewatching that video and just like getting to see his personality shine a little more. What can I say?
Just a quick take on that situation is a substitute like that late in the match on the road. That's a lot of trust for a manager to put on Ben Bender's shoulders. And I think that's a clear sign to me that Bender's pushing in training to where Lattanzio can't really ignore him anymore. He's been ignored until this moment. He's got some time on the pitch. So take a look at potentially Saturday as another chance for Bender to get some minutes. I think maybe at home against New York Red Bull, maybe not in a starting capacity, but I think Bender, if he's somebody that you want to throw on for that last 20 minutes, I think that could be a good role for him this season. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, we know Carroll's not going to be available, so that I think that gives him one step higher in the pecking order. I think it's really like we didn't really get to see what some of these subs can do. Like when it comes to like seeing Nuno Santos come in and Ben Bender, and these are guys who have attacking verve who can come in and like change a game late. I would have liked to see us like try to go press on for one more goal, because I think we faced a tired opponent and we could have got it and we could have sealed the deal away. Instead of, you can see the pressure graph on the screen there. There's a smaller version than what I showed earlier, but look at all that. Like Orlando just like owning us on pressure for 40 straight minutes is tough. And you're not going to win many games if you do that over and over again. But the way it was, the guys did well. And like, so Bender's not going to look as good and Santos is not going to look as good statistically, because they were not brought in to do what they mainly do. These are attacking players that were brought in just to sort of be energy guys and hold the lead. And they did a fine job of that. But I don't know. Being on the road, I guess you could say, was probably the right tactic, because you don't want to like lose it to a home team. But we almost did lose it a couple times. That late goal that was ruled offside was barely offside for sure. So
you need breaks, and that's something that I thought about in the moment when Charlotte FC took the 3 points. One of my first thoughts post-match was, some of the breaks fell our way tonight, and that just happens, and that'll happen both ways in soccer. So you don't take those kind of nights for granted, where you feel like you've gotten a break, and then all of a sudden can you start building momentum off of that break? Because I thought the Atlanta match was a chance for Charlotte FC to pick up its first 3 points of the season and really kick on. And little did I know the solution was benching Karol Swiderski and
crazy
getting 3 points in Orlando and trying to kick on the season there. And 3 points against New York Red Bulls on Saturday night is going to be massive for this club. So I'm pumped to be there. I know Danny, you'll be there as well. It's going to be a great Saturday night. It's been a fun show. It's been a fun show. Is there anything that we haven't done tonight that you want to do? You've already done like 6 or 7 shout outs. You got 8 or 9, maybe 10.
I got shout outs for days, baby. I got shout outs for days. There is actually one thing I want to do, and it's a really shout out to you, to be perfectly honest. It's something that I thought was pretty cool that you put out there, and you just asked all the TIFOs there, the tremendous friends of our show, who the numbers are growing. Let's just put it that way. The numbers are growing. We don't have an official count, but we do know that a lot of people are out there. I liked your tweet that you put out on @ForTheCrownBaby, and I just want to share a couple of the responses here if scroll through them. You said, describe Charlotte FC's win in 5 words, and then Charlotte is a soccer city. Was that a joke on me forgetting how many words are in the phrase "Charlotte is a soccer city" in the last episode? By the way,
yes, it's exactly what that was.
I figured it was. Figured it was for sure. But I love the theme of like a 5-word response. We got some great ones. Offsides, man of the match. That's pretty funny from Evan. Offsides definitely saved us, prevented too. There's your answer. No longer on the bottom. Our best guys showed up. That's our first 11. That's the first 11. I guess. Are we counting a contraction as 2 words? Maybe. That's only 4 words. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. One mainly without Polish players. That's a little spicy.
That's a fact.
Spicy take. Yeah,
it's just a
factual spicy take. Yeah. Our boy Len, relief, exhilarating, howling, potential, fearless. I love that. He went with 5 separate words. Charlotte is a good squad. Latanzio connected as a This was one of my favorites. It was about daggum time. Shout out to Sombrero Man who was hanging out at EPR. He said, en español, te dije que somos chingones, I think, because of my horrible Spanish accent, but I told you we're badass, te dije. This is only the beginning. I can feel happiness again. It's thank F for that win. Thank fuck for that win. Sorry, we're
there's show. Ryan. There's Ryan.
Ryan. I love that Ryan did. He did the 5-word answer. Don't paint over the cracks, and then he but here's a second tweet that has like 50 words, like to go a little deeper on what I meant to say. So that's pretty funny. JPP completely misunderstand the assignment with a lot more than 5 words as well, but we love it for sure. I know Bridget, NC Tiger Girl, Bridget McCall. She's all about the grinders. She loves George Marks because she thinks he grinds so hard. Determination and grinding paying off. You gotta love that. I chose he's one of our own because Jalen Lindsay, he was my man of the match. George Marks, he stepped up as a homegrown. Futbolista Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia. I don't know what that's going for, but I know that Futbolista loves her Argentinian national team. So lots of good responses from the people and just fun times. We love to have the conversation on Twitter. It's just it's of all the social media platforms, that's the one that just is like quick and fun and easy to do. So those were our 5 words to describe the win from all the people. And then I want to do one other thing before we get out of here, which was, since we're shouting out our fans, let's just rub some salt in the wound of the Orlando fans and just bring a little noise their way, if you don't mind, if I can stir up some drama, because this is and we were also asked to talk about this by Byron Ryan, I believe. So I want to show a video here and tell me what you think of it. This is Oscar Pereira, the Orlando coach. This is his post-game press conference, all right?
It's my responsibility to create a lineup and to create a game plan, and in that part I have to. It's
that what you heard. You heard like people banging on glass and yelling "asshole," boo, and booing. Like they're booing their own coach at the post-game press conference after they won the U.S. Open Cup last year. They competed admirably in the CONCACAF Champions League and went out on like a real heartbreaking away goals rule. And now, they lose that playing their 5th match in 15 days. I'm not here to offer sympathy for Orlando, but how can you be that pissed at your coach that you would call him an asshole while he's giving his post-game press conference as you walk out of the stadium? Pretty weak, pretty lame. Orlando, get your heads right, get better, be better fans.
I understand the frustration. I don't appreciate using that frustration in that way, where the coach is in a professional environment doing a job there. Remember, press conferences is not something that a coach can decline. Right. He has to show up there and face the music post game. So if you're going to act that way in a press conference room, I think you should think maybe differently next time around. But I understand the frustration from a fan base because there's a couple things that I think as a supporter really get to you, and I think being knocked out of cup competition is one. And even though Orlando played Tigres well, they got knocked out of the cup this past week.
Yeah,
and
it hurts.
The manager lost that match, and then that was midweek at home, and a few days later they get a chance to play at home again against Charlotte, who's on the bottom of the MLS table. They lose that match as well. So in a vacuum, when you just consider the 4-day span, it's pretty poor. So I can understand the frustration, but don't do it that way. Just
it's not the move. It's not the move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The move. Yeah.
Anything lets us puff up our chest and feel like we're better human beings than the Orlando City fans. I'm going to throw that in at the end of an episode for sure.
It was a great weekend. We're looking forward to a great week here in Charlotte. I hope everybody has a great week, and I hope everybody stays safe out there. I hope everybody can enjoy a week of positive vibes and good Charlotte FC content. I know you can check out a bunch of content out there, especially our episode that's going to drop later on Thursday, previewing the match against Atlanta. And Danny Brams, it's great to see you. I hope you have a good start to your week. And as always,
raise a glass because it's for the crown, baby.
Cheers.